To remove and install the front drive shaft on your RZR XP, follow these steps. Park the vehicle on a flat level surface, ensure it is in park, and remove the key. Next, loosen the lug nuts while the vehicle is on the ground, but do not remove at this time. Next, remove and discard the cotter pin. Loosen the wheel hub castle nut. Then safely elevate the vehicle. Reference your owner's manual for proper lifting techniques. Once safely elevated, remove the lug nuts and set aside. Then remove the wheel and set aside. Next, remove and discard the caliper mounting fasteners. Then carefully remove the caliper from the hub and support it with a wire hanger, rope, or retention strap to avoid damaging the brake line. Continue by removing and discarding the castle nut and cone washer. Then pull the wheel hub off the assembly and set aside. Next, remove and discard the upper and lower ball joint pinch bolts and nuts. Then lightly tap on the bearing carrier to separate the upper ball joint end from the bearing carrier. Next, pivot the assembly down to separate the drive shaft from the bearing carrier. Then, with a short, quick pull, remove the drive shaft from the gear case. Next, clean the anti-seize off the axle splines using a clean shop rag. Then, inspect the threads and splines on the axle for nicks or burrs and replace if needed. Continue by inspecting the CV boots to ensure there are no cuts, wear, or damage, and replace if needed. Then, inspect the drive shaft O-ring for wear, cracks, or other damage, and replace if necessary. Next, remove and discard the compression ring on the drive shaft. Then install a new compression ring into the groove on the end of the drive shaft and ensure it is fully seated. Next, put anti-seize on the gear case and splines of the drive shaft. Then install the drive shaft in the transmission. If necessary, use a rubber mallet to tap the outboard end of the drive shaft. Next, install the wheel hub assembly to the bearing carrier. Continue by installing the upper ball joint end into the bearing carrier. Then install new upper and lower ball joint pinch bolts and nuts. Torque to specification. Next, install a new cone washer and castle nut. Ensure to install the cone washer with the domed side out. Next, carefully slide the caliper assembly onto the brake disc, ensuring the brake rotor is between the two pads. Before continuing, ensure any items used to secure the brake caliper are removed from the wheel well. Then, install new upper and lower caliper mounting fasteners and torque to specification. Then, install the wheel on the vehicle and tighten the lug nuts until fully seated. Then, safely lower the vehicle until the tires begin to touch the ground. This will help keep the wheel in place when torquing. Once lowered, torque the lug nuts to specification in a crisscross pattern. After this, install a new cotter pin in the drive shaft. If necessary, slightly tighten the wheel hub castle nut to align the nut and drive shaft holes. Finally, lower the vehicle completely. For more information, see your authorized Polaris dealer or visit Polaris.com.